Hi, this is Derek Triplett. I like to play with words. So let's talk about the word next, N-E-X-T. In the middle of the word next is the word X. So guess what? You can't have a next without an X. I want to talk about that from two vantage points. Number one, some of you are trying to move on to your next relationship, your next situation, without having a real X. What I mean, you're still holding on to something that you've got to let go of if you're going to have a real next. So guess what? If you're not over that bad situation and that last situation, then you're not ready for a next. And guess what? The next doesn't become the Robitussin for the X. Okay, the Robitussin joke, that's kind of, you'd have to, anyway. But anyway, so you got to make sure that you do the necessary cuts before you add something else. But let's talk about it from this vantage point. Even as you are into your next, somebody still remembers the X. And they're going to be people who try to bring your past up as you move on to your next situation. So whoever you are, guess what? You could have been a terrible mate in your past situation. You could have been a terrible employee in your past situation, but you've made the necessary transformation. So guess what? You're going to have to ignore the noise as people try to bring your past into your present. Have an X so you can have your next. Why are so many people hurting so badly? Make the relationship more important than the issue. Do you add value to the person that you're connecting with? My name is Derek Triplett. This is Better Relationships. And guess what? It gets better from here. Welcome to Better Relationships. My name is Derek Triplett. When it comes to dating, there seems to be more questions than actual answers. How often should you date? How many dates constitute a relationship? Are the rules different for women or men? We're not here to answer all of those questions, but we do have someone who has written a book that chronicles all of her dating experiences. We're going to talk about the do's and don'ts of dating, the wills and won'ts of dating. So if you know somebody who's single and doesn't really know how to date, you want to stay right here. I'm Derek Triplett. We'll be right back. So you're single. What are some of your dating do's and don'ts?
Well, my dating do's are to always smile, and my dating don'ts, I'm not sure about that one. No kissing on the first date, just getting to know someone, just waiting.
Just waiting. One last.
Until he proves himself worthy enough.
Worthy, that's an interesting word. What makes him worthy?
What makes him worthy? He has to treat me right. I'm not really particular. I know people have their list of things. But,
okay.
Looks. I mean, I'm not looking for like tall, dark, and handsome. Like,
okay.
I've dated all types, sizes. If you treat me nice, if you have great manners, I'm okay with that.
Okay, dating do. Self-awareness. Make yourself self-aware of your tolerance level. Are you available? Because if you're not available, then you're in a don't category. A dating do. Always stay true to yourself, but be open to change.
Give me a don't.
A don't. Don't ever lose all of yourself, but self-development in a relationship is good.
Welcome back to Better Relationships. Dating can be a trip. I just don't understand some of the stuff I see. What do you do? What don't you do? What will you do? What won't you do? That's what we're here to talk about today. And we've got a special guest. Author Anne-Marie Sorrell wrote a book entitled Chronicles of a Serial Dater. It's funny, when we were on the phone talking about the show, and my son was in the car, and he said, Dad, Serial, as in serial killer? I say, yeah, that kind of serial. But you took your book and chronicled and just told stories about your dating life. Why?
Well, after breaking up and going through a really bad breakup and relationship, I started dating again. And I would tell my girlfriends about these different stories and situations, and they would always say, girl, you need to write a book. And I was like, I can't be the only one that's experiencing these types of situations. And so I started just kind of outlining and writing what was happening. And then I said, let me kind of take it a step further and take a look back at my own dating journey from high school through college through my early 30s. And that's when I was like, let me see, are there patterns that I have? And really do a self-assessment, and then just kind of see through this journey how things have changed in a dating scene.
Now, I believe that people need to know who they are in the process of dating. Did writing the book help you kind of see who you are and show you some things that maybe you didn't know?
Oh, absolutely, yes.
Okay. What's a bad date?
Well, I really think it's up to each individual what they determine to be a bad date. But for me, it's really based on the behavior of the person, the conversation, the mannerism. So it has a lot of those things involved. It seems really basic, and common sense type things. But when you really start dating people, you're like, oh, so I guess common sense is not that common, or oh, you don't know that chivalry should still exist, or you really don't know how to talk to or treat a lady, or so it's just certain things, and you're like, okay.
Now I know it's different depending on the gender.
Yes.
But they say, I don't know who they are, but they say that women basically know if there's going to be a second date in a real short amount of time. How long does it take you to know whether or not this is going to be a second date?
Typically within an hour, by the end of the first date.
Within an hour?
Or two, yes.
Okay,
yes.
Okay. And so can a guy, he's going on fine, can he blow it at the end?
He could, yes.
Okay. What blows it at the end?
It could be something as simple as, and it may not be simple, but to going into a conversation, a sexual conversation, and we're just really not at that stage, and you're already, trying to figure out how I am in bed. That could definitely blow it. Another thing could be if he, is going on and on about his ex. That could be like, okay, so clearly you're not over over your ex, so this is, what are we doing? And it could be just doing something really disrespectful or saying something really disrespectful, or in a recent situation,
tell us.
In a recent situation, finding out that he didn't vote in the last couple of elections. That was a deal breaker for me. It's like, you got to vote. I don't date men who don't vote.
Right.
So it could be something, for some people that may seem really silly and ridiculous, but for me, I really take my civic engagement and duties seriously, and I would want to be involved with someone who does the same. So to me, you didn't share that common interest, and that's a huge part of my personal life. And so that was a deal breaker for me.
Do you have some basic steps that you go through for dating preparation? What's the mental thing for you? As you first date, what's the mental process for you?
Oh gosh, so first of all, as women, we are definitely concerned about, okay, how do I look? And not necessarily for the person, but for ourselves. Like, okay, because you want to step out and you want to feel really good. So it's the physical preparation. Like, okay, is my, I don't have hair, so I don't have to worry about that. But is my makeup good? Is my, what am I wearing? Where are we going so that I can make sure I wear the appropriate attire? And then it depends on how I met this person. So if it's an online, never met them in person, it could be
public place.
Public place. Okay, where are we going to meet? Definitely a public place, but where? Because I'm pretty known in my community. So is this?
Yeah, I may not want to be seen with you. I may not want to
be seen with you that publicly.
Absolutely. Public, but not so public. I got a reputation in my city.
Right. So I need to know who I'm out with before I make you too public.
Okay.
So I go through that thought process. And then, depending on what we're doing, are we going to go eat somewhere? Are we going to do something fun that we can have conversation? And then, does this person look like who they say they are? How is this conversation going to go? Is the chemistry going to be good? I mean, there's a lot of thought that goes into it.
In the book, you talk about appearance. You talk about hygiene.
Yes.
Okay, so they show up and breath is an issue.
Right.
Okay, that's
Should never be an issue.
Should never be an issue. There's plenty of gum.
There's gum, Tic Tacs, afterwards. There's just so many options.
Is there something that you say if you're talking to your sisters and you say, don't do this? Mm-hmm. I know we try to stay away from hard, fast rules, but don't do this? Are there a couple of don'ts?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that sometimes, especially for those getting back in the dating game, one is we're probably hesitant to just be our authentic self.
Okay.
And so we may try to show up as a different personality, or
send your representative.
Shy. They send their representative. Okay, I'm going to be shy, or I'm going to be overly aggressive, whatever it may be. But the one thing, be yourself.
Be yourself.
Don't try to be, someone that you are not. Or I saw that this person, the way they acted on this reality show when they showed up on a date, so I'm going to try that out. No, just
be yourself.
Just be yourself.
Listen, when we come back, I want to talk about some stuff you won't do on a date. This is Derek Triplett. This is Better Relationships. We'll be right back. We're headed back to the Better Relationships Q&A corner. Here's a question from Rob from Los Angeles. I think my wife is falling out of love with me. She's been distancing herself away, not talking as much. I tried everything I could. I tried talking, asked her to go to counseling. I bring flowers. I just don't know what else to do. Please help. First of all, Rob, don't panic. Try not to use fatalistic conversational techniques. I think my wife is falling out of love with me. No, it could be a myriad of other things. It could be that she's going through something personally that she's not ready to share yet. So continue to be open as a husband, continue to be supportive as a husband, and when it's time, just ask the tough questions. Don't beat around the bush. If you think or have some suspicions, articulate those in a way that's not accusatory. If you think that she has forgotten about you or is neglecting you, talk to her about your feelings of neglect. If she conveys to you that she's just going through something right now, then take that. And here's the tough part. Continue to be a great husband. Continue to sow the seeds of being a great husband, because ultimately you'll reap the harvest of her returning to being a great wife. Counseling is so important. Continue to ask her to go to counseling so that you all can get what you need to move forward. But don't panic. Don't use fatalistic conversation. Don't use accusatory language. Just be there, support, ask good questions, engage in active listening, and I think things will get better. They can, really. Don't panic. Welcome back to Better Relationships. We're talking to author Anne-Marie Sorrell about dating do's and don'ts. Before the break, we talked about some stuff that you shouldn't do. You personally, I'm not doing this. Here are some I won't. First date, second date, I won't.
Well, I'm probably a little more daring and a little more riskier than your normal person. But
so let me ask a different question. Are there, when you meet someone who doesn't meet your level of daringness, is a little bit more, is it possible to meet a man that's too conservative for you?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
I think it's really about the chemistry.
Okay.
With the person that you meet. So
the vibe.
It's the vibe, it's the chemistry, it's the conversation, it's the attraction that goes into play. So the I won't or will not, it really is based on that
The
connection.
flow. So you
and
go
the flow.
in and open
Yes.
and to say, let me see how this is going to flow.
Absolutely.
But you've already done what you need to do to make sure that you're protected and all of those kinds of things.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I won't sit here and say, oh, there's nothing that I won't do on a first date, because it really could be, you know, a spectacular person. We're having a great time. Things are flowing and everything flows naturally. I mean, I probably won't go bungee jump off of a bridge with this person.
Absolutely.
Or dive out of an airplane.
Okay. Skydiving is probably not a great first date.
Probably not a good first date. But then again, you never know.
Okay. What you talk about in the book, give us a story. You got to give us a story out of the book.
Which one? Well, what?
You tell me. I'm not going to choose.
Oh, man. So, first date story out of the book. There's a story in there called Funky Sunny. And this is where I actually met Sunny through a telemarketing call.
Okay.
Believe it or not. So he liked my voice on a telemarketing call and decided he wanted to call me back and talk offline. And so we had a few things in common.
You didn't get fired for that, did you?
No, well, it was him. He was at work.
He was at work.
He called me about a warranty or something.
Okay.
And so come to find out, we knew some people from my hometown. And it was like, oh, okay, cool. He seemed pretty cool. We talked for a few weeks on the phone. And then he decided to drive down from Jacksonville to see me.
Okay.
And so I was like, okay, well, that was very thoughtful. And, you know, the way he described himself, this was back when we had flip phones.
Gotcha.
So I couldn't really get a
real
good picture of him. And so the way he described himself seemed pretty, like he seems pretty attractive.
He shows up.
He shows up, totally not how he said he looked. His hygiene was completely off. His attire was just like, I was like, who is this and why is he at my door? And at this point, it's like, okay, all right, let me be nice.
Okay.
So we had some conversation, and then his breath wasn't great, and I offered him a stick of gum, and he asked me, was I trying to tell him something? And I wanted to say yeah.
So he shows up for a date. You call him Funky Sunny.
Yes.
So he shows up for a date funky.
Yes.
With bad breath.
Yes.
That didn't go well.
It did not go well. A friend of mine, my best friend, actually called me in the middle of us having a conversation. And this is probably about within the first hour of the conversation.
And she got you out.
And I was like, oh my God, my friend has an emergency.
See, that's wrong.
It is wrong.
That's so wrong. Y'all got the friend waiting for the rescue. That's so very wrong. Listen, I wish we had another half hour to talk about this. I got to bring you back because we got to finish some stories.
Yes.
Listen, dating is funny when it's somebody else. Listen, I'm Derek Triplett. This is Better Relationships. We'll be right back. Let's go back over to the Q&A corner. This is a question from Michelle, and she's from Detroit. I don't think I'm ready to move back into the dating scene. I'm a widow. My husband has been gone for 2 years, and my friends say it's time for me to get back. Michelle, first of all, my condolences. Even 2 years later, losing the spouse is difficult. But let me say this. It's very, very important that you get back into the dating situation when you are ready. But it's also very, very important to know that sometimes we need help with the grieving process. So if you have not seen a grief counselor, I encourage you to see a grief counselor to help you to get back to feeling like an individual. Because if you were married for a long time or even a short amount of time, you don't feel like an individual. You feel like someone who is connected to someone who's no longer there. So you've got to let the professionals work you through that. Yes, there will come a time where you need to take the risk again. There will come a time when you will need and want and desire companionship again, and that is not a slap in the face to your late husband. But please understand, you've got to do it when you're ready, because guess what? Your friends don't have to manage and navigate that relationship. You do. I hope that helps. Hey, dating should be fun. It can be enjoyable, but it should also be meaningful. So here are a couple tips. Number one, know exactly what you want in a dating relationship. Know whether or not you want a real companion or if you just want some consistent company. Number two, communicate what you want. Don't be silent in the relationship. Whoever you are dating should know exactly who you're about, exactly what you want. Three, don't be silly with your sex life. Now, Christians, I know, yes, I preach and teach abstinence, but for those who are not so sanctified, at least be smart. Don't be silly with your sex life. And then finally, when it's time to break up, break up. Don't stay in a relationship just because you don't want to be alone. Sometimes it's better to be alone than to be in something dysfunctional. Have fun with your dating life, be safe, but know what you want. I'm Derek Triplett, this is Better Relationships. My work is not possible without the support of a tremendous family. We are not a perfect family. We have our scars and our stains. But being a triplet is a great honor to me, and I take pride in it. I want to thank my wife, my children, my parents, and my brother and sisters for their support and their encouragement. I also have some close friends who really want to see me win. I want to thank them for helping to keep me going. Without them, I couldn't be here for you.